Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Filip Procha, and I'm going to take you on a little journey about the web, and especially web notifications. So let me start a little about what we are going to talk about today. We will start with a small journey to the history of the web and what's it capable of today. Then we will talk about some tools that are available to us nowadays and that we can use to simplify the implementation of those features. And in the end, we will look at the implementation of one of those features, which is web notifications. Okay, the history. So I don't know if you remember, but around the year 2000, the web looked like something like this. This is the page of the Yahoo. It was one of the largest pages at the time. And the web served mostly informational purpose. When I look at the mobile web, it was even worse. But mobile devices at the time weren't such advanced as they are today, so it was no problem. Thankfully, both of the devices on the web developed, and we now see advanced web applications like Google Drive, you can see here. And for example, Google Drive, you can not only browse your files online, but you can also edit documents without installing Microsoft Office. Or through integrations with other web apps, you can cut pictures and do all kinds of stuff. Another example I would like to point out is that thing that for many years was, I think, unthinkable for many of us to be done in the browser, like video editing, is now possible to do without installation. Oh, shit. Okay. So it's now possible without installation of specialized software. The mobile web also advanced a lot. If you've seen that picture before and you see that there are full-fledged mobile apps right now that are 100% replacements of their native counterparts. So we no longer have to write web apps, native mobile apps. We can write web apps that look and behave like native mobile apps. And if you look at this chart here, you can see that the web apps actually are getting more users than their native counterparts. And those users no longer expect you to just redirect them to your native app whenever there are some advanced features you need, but they expect those advanced features to work on the web. One of those features is for your app to work offline. There are now APIs on the web that allow you or your app to work even offline. So when the user comes, for example, to the underground, and loses connectivity, he can still use your app as he was. Of course, you can tell him, hey, you are offline, you can do everything, but he shouldn't see a blank page saying no connectivity, you can't use this app. Another important feature is that your app needs to be fast, and it needs to take into account that many users nowadays are on metered connection on their mobile phones. And you don't want to create a Mount Everest in their monthly bill just by downloading 10 megabytes every time the user loads the page. Also, another nice feature now available on the web are web notifications, which we will talk more later in the talk. But let me show you some tools we can use to implement those features in our apps or on the web. First, I would like to point out that every developer definitely thinks that I want to write least code possible, because we are not there to write a code. We are not. We should not be the workers of the internet or of this age. We should be the thinkers of this age, and we should focus on solving problems that exist and not just writing boilerplate code. So one of those tools that can help us is Firebase. Firebase is a platform for app developers to help them do many features, or add many features to their app, like authentication, databases, backup, and, for example, notifications very easily, so they don't have to write advanced backend, and they can focus on the development of the key features of their app. So here you can see, as I said, Firebase has many features, and the one we will focus today on is the push notifications, or the Firebase call messaging, which can be used for push notifications. So Firebase call messaging, originally only for Android and iOS, but nowadays, last month, Google released it for the web. So the Firebase call messaging API allows you to very easily, from your server, send push messages to your users, and then after you receive the push message, you can, for example, do a background sync and show user a notification prompting, hey, something happened. Another important tool I would like to talk about, and we will use to implement the web notifications, is a Polymer. Polymer is framework, which it's a thin layer on top of a new standard, Web Components, which recently took off. Web Components are just like any other HTML tags. So if you ever wrote HTML, you probably know tags like image or input. So those are basically existing web components predefined by the browser. Wouldn't it be amazing if you could define your own web components, like if you could define your own web components and define your own styles and behavior. So as we can see here, we can very simply define our own web component. Here we call it a contact card. We define its styles and contents. Then we register the web component, and we can use it in our app just like any other web component. So if you are using image input, and when we look at it, it looks like that. We can use it in our app as many times as we want, reuse it again and again. And as you can see, it is already styled, and we can use custom behavior, so we have a star there as we specify the start attribute. When we combine those two tools together, the Polymer and Firebase, we get Polymer Fire. It's a library written by Firebase team to give us as simple as possible implementation of Firebase features on the web. So we have predefined set of web components. Here you can see, for example, Firebase app web component. This is the key entry to your app, where you specify the configuration of your Firebase. Then, for example, we see Firebase auth web component. This web component allows you to add in few lines authentication for your users, and then just by calling one single line of, or just adding one single line of code, you can see at the bottom, you sign in your user, and you are provided with user object that you can use anywhere in your app. So let's move on to the notifications. We again specify Firebase app, but Now we need to make sure that we have this messaging sender ID defined. We can find it in Firebase console on the web. Then we use another web component we haven't yet seen before. It's Firebase messaging. This web component basically does the logic of registering the token and providing it to us so we can register it on the server. And it also listens for push messages while our app is open, so we can change the UI. So as it provides us with the token, we save the token in the database. Here we are using Firebase database. And the next thing, after we obtain the token, is that we need to receive those push messages even when the app is not open, because we don't need to show the user a web notification when he's right there in the app. We need to do it when the user has his phone in his pocket or is not using the app. That's why we will use Service Worker. It's a web API that allows us, for example, bring the offline capability, or here we will use it for push notifications. Well, to begin, we will write our own Service Worker. We will start with including those two libraries, Firebase app and Firebase messaging. Then we will initialize our Firebase app with the messaging sender ID. It's the same as we used before. And we prepare the messaging API. After that, we need to register a callback for receiving push messages from the server. In the callback, we prepare our notification. So as you can see, I already sent all the data necessary for showing the notification in the push message. So I have title, body, I customize the notification icon, and then I provide custom data object to the notification options so I can later open a URL I want after user clicks the notification. Then I just show the notification. And the second thing we need to do in our Service Worker is to register a callback for notification click. Because you want, when user clicks your notification, to give him the context in the app and open the right URL. So we close the notification, as we don't want it to stay open or stay there when user clicks it. Then we read the target URL. We provide it to the data object. And we call this magic method wait until, which we need to use in Service Worker for longer taking tasks, which happen on another thread. We call clients.matchAll, where we are looking for all the instances of our app that user could have open. So when you have like 20 tabs, you are now in your Gmail, and you have this app already open, we'll look it up, and pass this to another method called openWindow. There, we will go through those open tabs and look if any one of them is this specific URL that we want to open. If yes, we just focus this tab, so we are not opening yet another tab. If not, we just open a new tab right there and focus it. But we forgot one thing, one important thing, and that's we need to first ask our user for permission to show the notifications. You can't just start showing the notifications right away, because you must imagine that when you are sending a notification, you are disrupting your user. Well, it's actually very simple with Polymer Fire. You just call request permission method on the Firebase messaging web component, and then wait, and if it succeeds, the user granted you the notification permission. Well, let's look at how it looks like from the user perspective. He's prompted with this generate notification permission prompt, where he can allow or block the notifications. The problem here is that when you click on block, you have to later go to the browser settings and manually allow it again. Otherwise, the web app can't show you this prompt again. Imagine you are a user coming to this app for the first time. You don't know why this app wants this notification permission from you. What it is going to show you. Well, we had this problem with our app Setlab too. We started implementing FCM late in this summer, and we initially were using just this generic notification prompt. But later, we solved this problem by using our custom notification prompt, you can see here, where we first ask the user whether he even wants to enable notifications. And then, once he clicks enable, we will show the generic prompt provided by the browser, because that's the only way to ask for the permission. But now the user knows what we want it for, and it's his action that he wants to enable those notifications. When we looked at analytics, before we were getting so many users blocking the notifications, making it impossible to send notifications for them even in the future. But after we implemented this change, this number dropped to 0 very quickly. Okay, so now we can send notifications. What's other important thing I would like to talk about here is the notifications are disrupting the user, as I said before. So when you send the notification and it's generic, like, hey, something changed, or there's a new message, the user doesn't know what you want from him. It's just a notification, yet another disrupting him from his work. You should always provide context to your notification. So as you can see here, I added a payment in our app, and my friend gets this notification. He says, hey, there is a change in your group. The group name is testing, and it says that I entered a payment of $69 for a beer. He quickly remembers that yesterday we were drinking, but we had only 2 beers, and that they didn't cost $69, so he clicks the notification. And he can simply edit it because he understands that I just mistyped and it should be $6.9. So, as you can see, web notifications are a really powerful API. You can increase user engagement. For us, it was something like 1.35%, 1.35 times more users, or more time were users spending in our app when they came through a notification. What I would like you to remember from this talk is that the web is important and that the majority of users are there. Of course, native apps are important, and for some use cases, you can't replace them with a web app, at least not yet. Also, there are amazing tools that can help you make your apps, and especially web apps, very easy to develop and very easy to reuse your code, so you are not the worker of this age, but the thinker who creates and solves difficult problems. And the last thing I want you to remember is that you should always think about your users first, because they are the ones who are using your app maybe every day, or very often at least, and you should not disappoint them, or they can leave. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention, and enjoy the rest of the conference. If you have any questions now.